What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at the tactical masterclass behind Manchester City's 7-0 win against Leeds United in the English Premier League. Manchester City were at home with this match and everything went right for them tactically and technically throughout the whole 90 minutes. Before we get into that, be sure to check out both my books. They're online on Amazon and there's links in the description below. Also, be sure to check out Keyframe. It's how I made this video. And let's get right into the tactics behind the match. So for Manchester City in their defensive organization phase, they went with a 4-4-2, and this would typically come in the midfield third and in their high block. So what we would see is typically their staggering of their two holding midfielders to create access to Forshaw, holding midfielder of Leeds, and this is how Manchester City would create positional superiority against the Leeds United 4-3-3. So in the Leeds 4-3-3, we would have our back four and three central midfielders that could potentially have been a problem for Manchester City, but through staggering, compactness, and the use of cover shadows, Manchester City typically limited the availability of Adam Forshaw and look to block off passes in more advanced areas. So they would typically leave the player who's on the weak side attacking midfield position completely free because he does not have direct access to the ball and doesn't have good links to then obtain possession in this dangerous area. So this allowed Manchester City to stagger their midfield, create multiple access points on different horizontal and vertical lines, which then gave them positional superiority, maintain compactness, and allowed them to press higher up the field. Now we see again with the back four of Leeds United, sometimes the connections into the wide area would then be overextended and force circulation to then just be played back to their goalkeeper and force the team back. So with the four-man midfield of Manchester City, they spanned across the full width very well and forced Leeds into playing neutral and backwards pass. Adam Forshaw and the Leeds United midfield would look to rotate and create different midfield structures to create better access to the ball from the first and second line, but this was very ineffective against a very strong, spatially oriented Manchester City defense. Now for Manchester City in possession, they too went with a back four that saw John Stones enter as the right fullback position, a new role for him in this Manchester City side. Rodri was the holding midfielder as he usually has been, and they typically played in this diamond shape with De Bruyne coming back in the side just off our screen in the right half space, Bernardo Silva in the left half space, and this allowed them to create very good positional advantages against Leeds United. So by coming deeper in the left half space, we would have the man orientation of Leeds United spanning across the full width. So when the midfield diamond would rotate and change shape, we would have our left-sided attacking midfielder come deeper, getting on possession of the ball. A midfielder of Leeds United would be drawn out, their midfield line would become flattened and allow for more breaks in between the lines to happen and compactness to be completely undone by this simple movement of Manchester City. So now we look at the second half to find out more tactical implications from this Manchester City side. We've highlighted our back four here and our diamond in the midfield, and how Leeds tried to stop this was with a simple 4-3-3 matching up with the three central midfielders of Manchester City, and now if we want to call it the false nine, he would simply be occupied by one jumping central defender, allowing Leeds to maintain a numerical advantage at the back. But the big issue for Leeds would occur when a central defender of Manchester City would dribble and progress the ball. So what we would see here is if Aymeric Laporte were to get on possession of the ball and drive vertically via dribbling, the player responsible for pressing the two central defenders would be the central forward, and by dribbling to progress past the first line of pressure would completely throw off the entire man orientation of Leeds United and force a midfielder to jump into this first line of build-up for Manchester City and then put the free man further up the field and allow Manchester City to break down Leeds completely, which would end in very dangerous chances. So again, we have our midfield diamond, and this time we can highlight a different source of progression for Manchester City. As we talked about, the asymmetry in their midfield was 1, dribbling from the center defenders was 2, and now we can see a third line pass to then create a third man movement is a third source of progression. So here on the ball is our central defender, and with Leeds man orientation, passing angles into advanced areas are likely to occur. And from here, we see Leeds United trying to use cover shadow with them interchanging who's pressing the first line. So in these moments of changes and switches among man orientation, we can find third line passes to then exploit a third man movement and support underneath the third line ball. And because this false nine position or this most central attacking midfielder is pretty much always covered by a jumping central defender, this player is completely left free to receive the ball facing his own goal or facing his support underneath him to then further progress the play up the field. And now for our last picture, and our last thing to talk about tactically is something the holding midfielders did for Manchester City, whether it was Rodri or Fernandinho. In this case, it's Fernandinho. He's coming and just dropping in the right half space to throw off the Leeds United man orientation, commit more players to the first line of build-up to emphasize the numerical advantage Manchester City had in their first line of build-up against the Leeds man orientation. And what this did, it was allowed Manchester City to change structure. So now we have our two holding midfielders in this position with Fernandinho dropping, and this created loads of space in the half space for the central defenders, especially Emerick Laporte, to then dribble and progress through, to then progress past the first line of build-up, and then exploit the space higher up the field with the man advantage Manchester City created in their first line. And that's where we're going to cap off the analysis for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.